And we're live. Today I have the honor of interviewing Eff Yoo, a Queens, New York MC. He just recently released an album entitled Respectfully, Eff Yoo, produced by Deep of Two Hungry Brothers. It has a very Latin sound with chopped up Latino samples. He has standout tracks on it that include Don Francisco, Hermanitos with Aye Wun, Sabado Night Live with Spit Gemz, and many more. We're going to talk to him about his new project. We're going to talk to him about his discography, which is impressive. He's had featurings with the who's who in hip-hop to include artists such as Gorilla NEMS, Thurston Howell III, Born Unique, Shabam Shadiq, and many more. Let's bring him in, talk to him about his storied career and what he's got coming up next.
What's going on?
Salute!
What's going on? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah,
How you doing, man?
I'm good, my brother. Thank you so much. What an honor to have you on the show.
Of course.
Respectfully, Eff Yoo. What a dope project. Talk to us about the whole concept behind it. One of the things that I really loved about listening to your discography was how with many of the projects you've worked with specific producers, the whole project has a look and feel, you know what I'm saying? And respectfully, Eff Yoo has this like Latin boom bap sound, which because of your background, the fans are familiar with your heritage, with the fact that you're Latino, that you're Peruvian, but on this body of work, it really comes out. Talk to us about Respectfully Eff Yoo.
Well, respectfully, Eff Yoo, it's a project that I put together with the homie Deep from Two Hungry Bros. Anybody who really knows the underground, especially New York underground hip hop, and does their knowledge, knows the name Two Hungry Bros. You know what I mean? Two Hungry Brothers. You know, they've been producing for a long time. He had asked me to do a track for a compilation that he was doing called Things Dad Listens To. It's out everywhere. I did a track for him. I'm actually not sure how he first discovered, Eff Yoo, but he asked me to do that. I did a track for that album, and from there he was like, "Yo, let's keep building on this. Let's keep building on this rapport." And we both, he's Puerto Rican, I'm Peruvian, so just on building, on talking, on getting to know each other, we were like, "Yo, there's not enough representation of
Yeah.
of what we do in hip hop." You know what I mean? And there's not enough people kind of talking about it and bringing other Latinos, Hispanic, Spanish, whatever it is, from every country up, especially in what we do. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of people out there doing it. There's a lot of people out there spitting, but there's not a lot of representation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we decided to go that route. It just so happens that he was in that mood where he was using a lot of old Latin samples and Latin percussion and records. So I said, "Yo, let's go that route." You know what I mean? Let's lean heavy into it. The title really doesn't. The title's just me. You know what I mean? It's just what I came up with and shit.
The title
Uh,
is dope, right? The title is like, you know how you sign like a letter at the end, respectfully, Eff Yoo,
right.
because the name is dope, right? That's like, the name is super dope too, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's a dope, but the cover, talk to us about the cover.
I mean, anybody who grew up in a Spanish household knows that cover. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the cover of Hector Lavoe's album, and I was like, listen, we were first gonna do a different cover of him and Willie Colon because I'm like, yo, you're my Willie Colon, son. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So we got to find a cover with both of them. But at the end of the day, when we stuck to now the album's gonna be called Respectfully Eff Yoo, Deep was like, look, I want to focus on you. I want to focus on Eff Yoo. I was like, all right, then this got to be the cover. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
I remember looking at that cover and thinking, number one, it just looks like he went to a fucking 1970s fucking Photoshop in the back room and shit with the little curtain and asked them to just take a picture.
Right, like
And
Montgomery Ward or something. Like back in the day,
right,
you could take your picture at the department store.
exactly. So I'm like, yo, let's just keep with that tradition. And plus, uh, I didn't have any record with my face on it. You know what I mean? If you look at the rest of my discography, no other albums had my face on it. So if you've never seen a video of me, for all you know what I mean? You don't know what I look like.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
of course, obviously, I'm extremely good looking. So I'm like, let's take advantage of that.
Exactly. You're like, listen, we're missing out. We're missing out on one of the main attributes here.
So we went that route, man.
That's dope. The cover's dope. when I saw it, I immediately recognized what you were paying homage to. When you listen to the album, you can hear in the sound. The cover actually turned out really dope. It looks like it's got like this 70s, early 80s vibe to it. You know what I'm saying? You pulled it off.
Thank you.
Uh, yeah, you pulled it off really well.
I
And
figured
I
I
think
figured
it
like,
was,
like either people know you're either gonna know what I'm doing here because you're gonna recognize the cover, or you're gonna think I'm totally
yeah,
insane, or you're gonna, regardless, if you don't know the cover, you're gonna be like, nah, that's kind of ill. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Either way, fuck it. You know what I mean? That's what the cover was gonna be. It means a lot to
yeah,
me. So
yeah. You have a track on there that I really love. The whole album's dope, but Don Francisco is really cool. My family's from Chile, right? So like I
all
got
right.
I got you know what I'm saying? I know about Don Francisco, but you open that track up talking about something that I think that a lot of kids who grow up here, that the parents were immigrants, they've got family in other countries, right? Whether it's the Caribbean or Mexico or South America. Clothes makes its way from your
Right.
closet to the cousins and the nephews and random ass uncles and people you don't even know that well, right? But that's just like a normal part of being, I guess, first generation children of immigrants. Talk to us a little bit about Don Francisco and how you open it up, and then the video is dope too.
Well, I think it's something that, like you said, man, a lot of people, even if you're not from a Latin country, Jamaica, Haiti, Russian, Japanese, if you're a child of a first generation child of immigrants, your clothes and your stuff, your hand me downs are gonna end up over there. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And that shit happened to me. I'm a lowhead, you know what I mean? I grew up in Queens. A lot of the people that I idolized and look up to and saw, they were all rocking low, Guess, Versace, you know what I mean? And I wanted to emulate that. So from a very young age, once I realized, you know, my parents didn't make a lot of money. They couldn't buy me that stuff. But once I realized, hey, I'm 13, 14 years old, they're not gonna do nothing to me if I steal it. Worst thing they're gonna do is call my parents. My parents are at work fucking all day, all night, so they're just gonna let me go, and that's exactly what happened. Once I
wow.
figured that out, my closet was full. Nike, Polo, Guess, Nautica, everything you can imagine. But I knew what I had, and I knew this wasn't easy to get. So when I saw my cousins and my family members in Peru and shit dressed low down, Nike down, city hat down, I'm like, at first I'm like, well, how the fuck did this happen? Well, how did this happen? You know what I'm saying? Like, go to my closet and this shit is gone. And I guess at first I felt the kind of way, but my parents they instilled in me a love for family, and the family comes first, and whatever you could do to help family, you do. So I very quickly was like, you know what, you're right. uh, Let them have it. Matter of fact, I'm gonna try to get different size stuff and send it out there, you know what I mean, so they could all look fly and
Yeah,
shit. And I think that's something that for any immigrant child is gonna hit home, you know
yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, and people can relate to that, man. That's a common thing that I think a lot of first generation kids of immigrants and people who grew up here, they can relate to that. Since we're on the topic, you being a low head, what's your like? What are some of your favorite pieces? Like, do you have like your go to? Like, this is what you're looking for. If you see it, you're like, this is what I'm
Well,
into.
as far as Polo, Ralph Lauren,
Yeah.
I mean, bro, to be honest with you, if I let you look into I have fucking, I'm in my
Yeah,
basement
like
right now.
just off your videos, just off of what I see you rocking, yo,
You
you
see two
got crazy.
closets behind me. They're full of tote bags of low. My closet upstairs in my master bedroom is just full of clothes. And I don't say that to brag. I just say like I have everything. You know what I'm saying? If there's anything, if I'm gonna go out and stunt, I might wear the casino piece. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? I like a lot of RL 2000, the original, because that's kind of when I was in high school and I was coming up, and that's what everybody was rocking. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? And hasn't really made a comeback like that, so I'll break some of that out. I have some exclusive pieces that, like, when I wear it, no one's ever seen. Literally, like 500 people in the world have seen it, and they're like, "Where'd you get that?" It's like,
yeah,
ain't a Chinese secret. You know what I'm saying? I saw it, I
yeah,
took it, and that's it. Now I have it.
yeah. That's dope. That's dope. So keeping on the respectfully Eff Yoo, talk to us about the track you have with Spit Gemz, Sabado Night Live, and then you got another joint with, these are your longtime collaborators, Hermanitos with Aye Wun. Talk to us about those tracks and, what you heard, who you heard on it when you were putting it together and the work on that.
I mean, definitely, Sabado Night Live is not only has Spit Gemz on it, but has Homeboy Sandman, who is a guy who I think is insanely talented. You know what I mean? He's also of Latino descent. And when I first heard that track and I came up with that verse, I figured the only person who's really gonna take this seriously and keep up with me and spit this shit with me is gonna be Spit Gemz, who, is not only my longtime collaborator, but he's like my brother. You know what I mean? Same thing with
Yeah.
A1. Like we literally talk, hang out, and fucking our families know each other, our daughters know each other, our kids know each other. We smoke cigars, we talk about life, we talk about philosophy, we talk about everything together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So immediately I knew that, and then I was like, this is missing something. And the flow that I was going with, I'm like, yo, this sounds like a Homeboy Sandman song. And we reached out to him. He loved it. He was like, yeah, no doubt, I'm on it. He fucking killed it, blazed it. So that was an honor to have that song. And the title comes from from Spit Gemz verse. He mentioned Sabado Night
Yeah, he
Live.
says
I wanted to call it
it in
Saturday
there.
Night Live, right? You know what I mean? And again, it's another very very New York thing, very very Latin thing. After Sabado Gigante, you know what I mean? After your parents were done watching Sabado Gigante and they went to bed, fucking Saturday Night Live came on at 4 on Channel 4. You know what I'm saying? Here in New York.
After Sábado Gigante, you go, you know what I'm saying, Saturday Night Live comes on, and that's something that, relates to that track. And then you got Hermanitos with A1. How did you choose? Because that's such a dope sample too, right? How did you choose to do that?
Hermanitos was actually the name of the beat. When Deep played it for me, um, we were actually here. We were actually here in my basement when he played it for me. I came up with the verse. I came up with the hook, and I'm like, yo, you know who would be perfect on this? A1. You know what I mean? And A1 is Filipino. I mean, it's from New York, but his parents are from the Philippines and shit. And I'm like, that don't matter, bro. Like, we've all been conquered by Spain. You know what I mean? So it's
Absolutely.
just everything fits. Plus, that's my bro, and I knew he was gonna kill it. So when I sent it to him, he sent it back immediately and was like, yeah, this is dope.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really, really dope. The album is, amazing. You have such a dope discography. And I was going through your entire discography and I wanted to jump around it a little bit because it's too deep to go, through everything. But I want to make sure that we highlight some of the, albums that really stood out to me. You've got Rikers Island Boxing School, RIBS, right? Dope ass acronym. For the concept, the acronym is really, really cool. And you're passionate about boxing. Talk to us about that album and how the whole idea of it came together.
Well, Rikers Island Boxing School is actually an album from me and Spit Gemz. You know what I mean? Together. And that name actually came about because we always used to title our group chats different things and shit. And Rikers Island Boxing School was one of the titles of the group chats. I'm like, yo, this is us. And of course, me and him also bond a lot over boxing and combat sports in general, MMA and all that other shit. I think that's something that goes back to, for me personally, it's memories of watching boxing with my father,
Yeah.
when I was a kid, just sitting there on the couch and, how excited him and my uncles would get about it. And you know, as I got older, how I would study the movements and how it was more than just brutality. You know what I mean? It was more
Yeah.
than just violence. There was actual smarts to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The amount of training that you have to do, the diet that you have to follow.
Mm-hmm.
I really respect it. And at the end of the day, violence is something that is embedded in us as human beings.
Right.
Unfortunately or fortunately, however you choose to take it, it's something embedded in us in human beings, man. We like to see it, we like to watch it, we like to be prepared for it. Uh, so it's just something that I've always followed throughout my life. And
Yeah.
Rikers Island Boxing School, it wasn't really meant to be, like a boxing album per se, even though we use
Right.
a lot of samples in there. It was just a title that we came up with, me and Jem. We're actually working on Ribs too now, so that hopefully will be dropping this year.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of the things I wanted to ask you about. You guys were boys. You get along. That's a person that you've worked with since day one. Really, when you go back through your discography, Spit Gemz is like that name that's showing up, like even in the early work, right? And I wanted to know, Rikers Island Boxing School 2, if that was going to come. So you mentioned that is something that you guys are working on, and you're thinking that for 2024 release.
That's something that's basically done. It's basically done. Um, it's actually being mixed and mastered right now by the homie Noho Kai, and we're just thinking about, if we want to add a song, maybe take a song out, put that on, Gems' solo, my solo, replace it with something else. So we're just kind of putting the finishing touches on it.
Yeah,
Hopefully it'll be out this year.
yeah,
And to go back to your point about uh, Gems being on there since the beginning, I'm gonna tell you something that a lot of people might not know. Spit Gems is the reason that I rap today, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? Because I had just rapping was something that I think a lot of people in New York and in certain communities you just do, right? It was like bebop in the 40s and 50s. The guys would be on the corner and with the barrel on fire, singing
yeah,
singing doo-wop tunes, right? This was something that in the 90s, you came outside and everybody was freestyling, whether you sucked or you didn't, whatever. The kids who were good, they started, getting better. It was just something that we all did. It wasn't something that I ever really took serious. I was always into music,
yeah.
you know what I mean? And I met Spit Gemz through DJing. I was gonna DJ for him. I was gonna be his DJ. And
Right.
one day, you know what I mean, he came up with a track, um, and I jumped on it. I spit the verse that I had just came up with, and he was like, "Nah, you got to put this on there."
Wow.
And I think that's on the Welcome to Hell's Gate album. And from that point on, it was like, I started feeling good. I started messing around. I would say I still didn't take rapping seriously as far as like, all right, I'm gonna get in the studio, I'm gonna write this song, this is gonna be on the album. I didn't really start doing that till like Spicaso. Like before that, it was just fucking around, fun, mixtapes. You know what I mean? I did a mixtape with Golden Child where I'll just go to his crib and go to his studio, work, and just kind of something came out of it. You know what I mean? And yeah, it wasn't until about Spicaso where I was like, all right, now I'm going to sit down and write to these beats, and this is going to be a project, and I'm going to try to push it and tell people about it and sell it. You know what I mean? Before that, it was just fucking around.
Yeah, because you have a body of work before Spicasso, right? You've got they came on horseback. You've got Papa Dios, right? You've got other projects that you put out, but it all comes together on Spicasso, right? You've got the concept. All the songs are starting with an S,
Right.
right? You've got
Right.
the album cover design, which is in the vein of Pablo Picasso, the great Pablo Picasso, and it's
Right.
dope, right? You smoke cigars, you got a cigar on there, and then it's got the Picasso flavor. Spicasso, right? Talk to us about the Spicasso album and the concept for the cover. I guess the first thing is who did the cover, because the cover's so dope.
All right. The cover was done by my homie No Mascaras he's from I know he's from the West Coast, man. I don't want to give the wrong neighborhood. You know what I mean? I know
Yeah,
how it is out there with neighborhoods and
yeah,
shit. But
yeah.
he's super dope, man. And those were hand drawn. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Spicasso and Spicaso Dos, which when I put them out together became Spicaso Deluxe. Those are hand drawn. I have the originals hanging in my house. Um, and the homie The Curse, who produced both of those, he had just started sending me beats. Like I said before Spicasso, I wasn't taking it much seriously, so people would send me beats. I'd write to it, and maybe something would happen, maybe not. And it wasn't until these batch of beats that Curse sent me that I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna write to this, and I'm gonna follow this concept, and I'm gonna make all the titles start with an S. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm painting a picture here, so I'm like Picasso. You know what I mean? But I'm
Yeah.
Picasso. You get what I'm saying? And then I reached out to homie for the cover. He did it graciously, and that was that. And then we just had more beats, so I kept writing, and I did part two, Dos, and and then when it was time to release them and put them together, they were two little 5-track EPs. Someone that's put them together, put them out, as one Spicaso Deluxe. So if you pick up Spicaso Deluxe vinyl or CD, which I think they're both sold out, the cover to part one is on the front, the cover to part two is on the back. There's no track listing.
Good stuff.
Because I always envisioned it as something you would hang on your wall. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not as something you would keep on the shelf.
Yeah. Yeah, and so much of physical media has become that, right? Like you buy the vinyl, you buy the cassette, you buy the CD to have it,
Right.
to hold it. Maybe you open it, maybe you listen to
Right.
it. You have the ability to, but you could stream it on a digital streaming platform, on YouTube, but to actually own, and as you mentioned right now, it's sold out. To actually own Spicaso Deluxe vinyl, it's a thing just like owning, something that only comes out in one season, right?
Right.
And you're not going to see it again, right? And it's really a special thing that I think is happening in hip hop, and this hip hop renaissance that we're in right now. And I wanted Spicaso Deluxe, you know what I'm saying? Because that's such a dope cover and such a dope album,
I mean,
So that's, yeah.
I always thought of it that way. That's why Spicaso Deluxe, for anybody who owns it, they'll tell you, I made sure the actual vinyl is a clear, see-through vinyl. You know what I mean? I made sure that the cover was on the front and the back. I made sure there was an insert, because it's something that I want you to cherish. You know what I mean? When you have it, I want you to say, this is a piece of art.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe when you're an old man, you'll pull it out and you'll show your kids, your grandkids, like, no, this was art. You know what I mean? This wasn't just a regular. Because I have vinyl records hanging on my wall. You know what I mean? I have comic books hanging on my wall, posters, pictures, shit that I think is beautiful, that needs to be shown. And I wanted to make sure the record is that. And same thing with respectfully Eff Yoo. Respectfully Eff Yoo, I saw it as people are gonna want to hang this. The vinyl itself is like a baby blue candy coated vinyl. Um, so I got to big up the homie Zach from Rotten Island Records, because he shot the cover, he shot the back cover, he shot the middle piece, and it came out dope, man. And we're definitely working on something else as well.
That's cool, man. Yeah. Now, I definitely look at physical media as art, especially in the era that we're in. There's an interesting story I want to see if you'll share with us about the work you did on Spicaso Deluxe with that producer, but then how that wound up leading to the collaboration for Charismatic Disrespect, another project that came out.
You really do your homework, man. That's small tidbits that a lot of people don't know and don't piece together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's the two albums are dope, and I think that backstory is really, really like cool. The way that music happens, the way that things are created in the universe.
Well, the man who produced Charismatic Disrespect, his name is Rob Victim. He's another producer that, if you're into music, if you're into hip hop, you should know that name. You know what I mean? But he not only just produces records, produces his own records, compilations, etc., but he also makes beat packs, you know what I mean, and sound packs for other producers, as a lot of producers do. And Curse used his sample pack and beat pack to make Spicaso and Spicaso Dos. And I'm not sure how. I would assume through Curse, Rob heard it, you know what I mean, and liked what he did, obviously, with his packs. He liked the beats. He reached out to me. He was like, "Yo, I love Spicaso. I love what you guys did. I'm putting out a compilation. Would you do a record for me?" He sent me a bunch of beats. So just like with Deep, like I did a record for Rob Victim, for one of his compilations, and after that, he was like, "Yo, you want to make a record together?" And I was like, "Yeah, send beats, send beats. If you send a beat, and I start thinking of something, and I start writing, and I start thinking of a concept, it's a go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you send me a bunch of beats, and I'm not moved by them, then we're not gonna go nowhere." And he was like, "Yeah, of course, no doubt." So he sent me a bunch of beats, and we made way more records than was on Charismatic Disrespect. But some of them, got shelved, got moved for whatever reason. And just like Spicaso, which wound up being a trilogy, if you want to talk about it, because I got Spicaso 1, Dos, and Spicaso on Lockdown. Um,
Yeah.
we're doing we're doing another album, me and Rob Victim, in the same vein as Charismatic Disrespect. It won't be called Charismatic Disrespect. And I mean, if all goes well, we'll do a trilogy. I'll do a trilogy with him as well.
So, man, so much information there. All right. So the new album with Rob Victim, does it have a name yet? Is it a 2024 release? Is it, to be determined?
It's done as well. All the tracks are recorded, just like with Ribs too. You know, we're figuring out like, do we want to add a song here? Do we want to take a song? Because I'm also working on a separate solo album. So do I want to put a song on my solo
Hmm.
album? You know, tentatively, it's titled "Unappreciated Luxury," and you know, just like Charismatic Disrespect, I want to keep the same name in the title. You know, kind of two words that mean something that don't really go together, but they do. You know what I mean? I like to
Yeah,
add that type of shit
it makes you
into
think. It makes you
right,
think.
right. I like to add that type of shit into my titles and into my work. You know what I mean? I always, when I'm writing something, I might write something. I might write a verse, but I'll write that verse 3 or 4 times. You know what I
Wow.
mean? Because I want to add a double entendre or a triple entendre, or I want to add something here that only a few people will pick up on, but I think is dope. A lot of times, I just want to add shit to impress Spit Gemz and Aye Wun and Homeboy Sandman and you know what I mean, top tier
Right.
MCs, GS Advanced.
For
Like I
the
want them to hear
lyricist,
it and be like,
super
oh shit,
lyrical.
that was dope. Right. So I'll go back and change words and add words just because I know it'll get a better reaction. You know what I mean? And it's more difficult to do. I want to challenge myself in that
Yeah.
way. So yeah, the Rob Victim, it's done, man. It's ready to go. We're gonna start working on mixing it down. He's got a bunch of projects coming out. He's got a lot of artists he's working with. Um, so I don't know exactly
Yeah.
when. It's got to be this year though. It's going to be this year.
Wow. So you've got a big 2024 because we're talking about Ribs 2 with Spit Gemz, right? That's, kind of in the final stages of getting it ready to release. New project with Rob Victim, who's the producer for Charismatic Disrespect, that's also kind of in its final
Right.
stages. You just released a new joint called 96 Clue,
Yeah.
where you're going in, you're doing what I think, what we were just talking about, where you're like, what, I'm gonna show people I can rhyme, because the rhymes are just layered on top of each other. It's beautifully written. Is that track a Lucy? Is a part of something else that's coming up? One of the two projects, or you've talked about another solo album.
Right. That's actually at first it came up as a freestyle because I heard that beat produced by the homie Mike Martinez. And immediately I was like, "Oh, this is BET the Cipher. This is Tigger's Basement. This is a '97 DJ Clue Tape freestyle
Yeah,
beat." You know what I'm saying? So I put myself in that mindset of just trying to impress DMX, Locks, Method Man. Like I'm just gonna come up with shit and just rapid fire spit shit. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And at first it was gonna be a Lucy, but it's gonna wind up going on my solo album called 14 Karat Gold Slum Computer Wizard, which should be out. That's probably my next release. But that's and again, it's kind of in its final stages. I'm not done recording it. You know, I wanna put this is like my magnum opus, you know what I mean? I got a lot of dope producers on there, Mike Martinez, obviously, a homie Wavy the God, uh Sherman Makes Beats, J57, um, Rob Victim. A, I got a bunch of producers who blessed me, man, and I thank them a lot. Um, I got a lot of dope features on there. So I want to make sure that I get it right. The artwork's got to be right. The packaging's got to be right. You know, when I work with somebody like Rob Victim or Deep, luckily I have them to lean on a little
yeah,
bit. You know what I mean? If I'm stuck and I'm thinking, I don't know what color I want the vinyl to be, I could
yeah,
ask them, what do you think? And then, oh, well, this does the Rob Victim is very, he's very research minded. He knows the trends. You know what I mean? So I can ask him, yo, what do you think? What should we do here? And he'll be like, well, check this out. From my research, I think this will pop off. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But this is just me. All the producers who blessed me and the MCs who blessed me with verses, I thank them. They all helped me out there. But as far as putting it
Yeah.
together, it's just me. So that might take a little bit longer, but
Yeah.
it's getting
All
there
the
as well.
responsibility. but all the glory.
Exactly.
Right? It's like this is an Eff Yoo project. It's, you know, I worked with a variety of featuring some producers, but I've got creative control,
Right.
and I want it to be right.
Right. And there's also some personal songs on there, which I don't really delve into a lot. You know, when I put out an FU record, is I'm FU. You know what I'm saying? The FU is exactly, it's fuck you. You know, that was gonna be my name back before I was rapping, and you know, people came up with aliases. There was no MCs, there was no DJs, there was nobody whose name was a phrase. You know what I mean? At least not a lot. At least not that I'd heard of. You
Yeah.
know, everybody's name was a name. Um, so when I came up with FU at first, I was like, nah, yo, I was punk rock, man. My name is Fuck You. That's it. And luckily, I had people who were like, listen, if you ever decide to take this seriously, or you ever want to book a DJ gig or any kind of show, no one's gonna book you if your name is Fuck You. So I thought I'd be a little smart and spell it out phonetically, even though now it's came to bite me in the ass. Even like I was telling you, man, a lot of people mispronounce my name. I think it's from the texting era. You know, YOO is now when somebody goes, yo, what's good? But it's my name is FU. You know what I mean?
Your name's
And you
dope,
get that.
bro.
Thank you,
The
man.
name is
And
super
you
dope.
get that with the records. So I don't do a lot of personal records. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? All the records I do are like, I'm trying to flex my mental muscle, but I don't really get to the heart. On the solo album, I got a couple records where I get down to
Wow.
the heart. You know what I mean?
Wow. I'm looking forward to that. That's gonna be really, really dope. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
yo, the homie Simon Hampton also, from Canada, producer. He sent me a lot of dope tracks, so we might be putting out an EP at the end of the year too, me and him. So it might be a very stacked 2024 for your boy, man.
Yeah.
It might not. I mean, I might push it. Like I might release this album and everybody hates it, and then I'll be like, you know what? I'm taking my ball and going home. Fuck it, I'm not doing rap no more.
Yeah, nah. I don't think so. I think it's gonna be dope. 2024 sounds like it's going to be amazing. We talked about Ribs 2. We talked about the new album with Rob Victim. We talked about the new album that you're going to be doing, the solo album. Let's talk a little bit about your visuals, right? In 2023, you had the Sabado Night Live, you had the Don Francisco, you had those visuals. What's it like for you when you actually work on visuals, right? You got the Lancy Leathers I've seen, you've got the joint with NEMS, right? You've got a variety, you make videos,
Right.
right? Talk to us about what that's like for you. Are you the person that actually comes up with the creative idea for your music videos? Do you normally collaborate with somebody behind the camera, that they're actually the director and kind of coming up with the storyline? How does that work for
Um,
you?
I'd say if it's an FU videos, FU record, 100% of the time I come up with what we're gonna do. You know what I mean? Um, I come up with the concept. Usually come up with the locations. You know, obviously the outfits and everything like that. And then I take direction from whoever may be shooting or directing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of times, when we do like a ribs video, something like that. It'll be me and Jem sitting down, just throwing ideas out there. But we never want it to be something plain. And there's a lot of plain videos out there right now. You know, that's the trend, and it makes a lot of sense. Like, you know what I mean? Why break my brain and try to find locations and try to pay for a backdrop and you know, all this extra work when, you know, I could just stand on the block and shoot a video and it'll come out dope and everyone will watch it.
Yeah.
So I get that, and those are out there. You know what I mean? But I always try to think of something different. What's somebody gonna watch and be like, oh shit, that's kind of ill. Oh, I noticed that. Oh shit, look what he's wearing. Oh, look where he's at. You know, I got a video that the homie G Media shot called
Yeah.
Smorgasbord, where I just took him to all different, you know,
Very, yeah, the food
restaurants in
truck.
the city. We went everywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We went everywhere. We went to Chinatown. We went to the food truck, to the halal truck. Uh, you know what I mean? We went and got some hot dogs. We went to a Korean spot. I just wanted to show people different things. With Sabado Night Live, you know what I mean? I was like, look, we're gonna go to Bushwick, man. We're gonna go to Bushwick and we're gonna listen to some fucking Puerto Rican band playing on the street. And you know, you got Peruvian restaurant, you got Puerto Rican restaurant, Dominican restaurant down the block. Like, we're standing is a little fucking, you know, hood spot. I'm like, this is perfect. You know what I mean? We're right under the train. You know what I mean? My homie brought out the taxi. I fucking took the taxi.
Yeah,
You know,
you
we were gonna
jumped in the
fucking
taxi. You driving the
we were
taxi.
gonna joyride the whole taxi. You know what I mean? But it was like just it was a lot going on, but the video came out
Yeah.
amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Me and A1 and Gems and Sandman playing fucking Kapiku on the street. You know what I mean? On my personal table, like all that type of shit is shit that I like to see in videos.
Yeah.
Different things. You know what I mean? We don't have the $1 million budget, but we got $1 million ideas and shit. We can make it
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. And New York City is the perfect backdrop, right? So like, just go outside, just make it happen.
I
The
mean,
one,
yeah. I'd like to, we've tossed ideas around of going out to Vegas. Obviously, me and Jen shot in the desert in Arizona for Rifle Experts
yeah,
video from Rikers Island Boxing School. Like that was out in the desert. Like we were out in the desert with scorpions and coyotes and shooting guns and like you know what I mean. And that was dope. But I'd like to go shoot in different places. It's a little bit harder. You know what
yeah,
I mean? Getting everything to work together.
yeah, yeah. That one of the things that's talking about videos, I think of like Shaft, right? Or like Superfly. And there's like a Superfly part two where he's like in Europe, Superfly TNT,
Right.
right? And you got like Spicaso Dos, but then you got Spicaso on lockdown, right? You got Spicaso on quarantine. Talk to us how that came. Were you in Peru when this whole thing happened?
Yeah, man. There's actually a video from that EP called Cusco Cocaine that I straight up just shot in a trap house out there. You know what I mean? I was like, some of the things that we filmed could not be shown, and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm glad I was wise enough to cut those scenes out.
Right in the moment, you're
But
like, now I'm gonna put it in and make it a dope video,
it,
but then later on, you're like, maybe not worth it.
listen, in the moment, man, I was like, so I had gone to Peru, with my now wife, who was my girlfriend at the time.
So,
And I was like, yo, we're gonna go to Peru. I'm Peruvian. She's Colombian. She's never been to Peru. When we started dating, I'm like, I'm gonna take you to Machu Picchu one day. We booked the trip. We went out there. Beautiful. We got engaged. COVID was like, what's that? You know what I mean? Like, I think there was 1 or 2 cases in New York. What, like, who knows? You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't even a
yeah,
thing. It wasn't a real thing. We go out there. We're there for a week, and then we had plans to go to Lima for another week, visit a bunch of other places. And when we came down from Machu Picchu, which is up in the
yeah,
mountain, the president of Peru was like, "Yo, we're locking everything down because of COVID. Nobody can leave. Not only could we not leave Peru and come back, but we couldn't leave Cusco, which is a city in the mountain. Like you couldn't leave the borders of the town you were in. So as soon as you
wow,
got to the border, there was military there who was like, you can't leave. Couldn't take a bus. And my family's in Lima, which was like about 24-hour drive away. You know what I mean? 4-hour plane ride.
yeah,
So we were stuck. We were I mean, at first we were in a beautiful hotel. Luckily, I was able to, with the gift of gab, kind of talk to the owner and be like, listen, I got nowhere to go. I'm from New York, but my family's Peruvian and you gotta let us stay here. And he did. And it was just me and my wife
wow.
and the manager and the cook.
That
And
was it. There weren't other
no,
guests. It was y'all.
he kicked everyone out. Everyone was kicked out. He was like, we're closing the hotel. And I told him, I'm like, bro, I got nowhere to go. Like, I can't go to my family. If you kick me out, I'm on the street. I'm
Yeah,
living on the street. And he was he was a great guy. And he was like, look, the manager and the cook, they live here. But, you can stay in the room, but there's no turn down service. I'm like, I don't give a fuck about that shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to go
yeah. There's
home.
no room
I'm,
service right now. You're
I'm
like, I'm
thinking,
just trying to survive.
I'm thinking I'll be here a week. They shut it down from March till November. So luckily, we were there for about a couple months, and we were able to get a flight from the government back here to New York. But um, during that
Wow.
time, I was making videos, and I'm like, yo, I'm bored here, man. I'm just doing push-ups, watching TV. Luckily, I was eating good because the
Right,
chef
you
was
had
there, so we were
the
chilling.
chef.
Had the chef, had the swimming pool. I was blasting my music through the whole fucking hotel. We were on the roof. It was cool, but I'm bored.
Yeah,
Kurt sent me beats, man. He's like, boom, here, check this out. Yo, check this out. Yo, I just made this. I just made that. And we had just come off the Spicaso Deluxe run. So I'm like, wow. At the same time, Spit Gemz and A1 were working on Ninja Vanish.
yeah,
Gems was working on solo shit. A was working on solo shit. They were sending me records, and I'm like, bro, I'm here. Like, what? I'm just gonna start writing. So I wrote that whole album there. I wrote that whole album there. That's why you get the first songs day one.
Yeah.
You know, song with me and Gems called Day 17. Like, those are the days that I wrote those songs.
Wow.
Wound up linking up with people out there. Like, I thought we were gonna be there for a long time, so I started going on the street and making moves. You know what I
Wow.
mean? Not to pull the curtain back too much, but I started talking to some local hustlers, and I'm like, yo, what can we do? You know what I mean? I got money. You know what I mean? Let's make moves. I'm a hustler. Let's go. And like I said, luckily I got the gift of gab. I could speak Spanish, English. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm a big guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm not like a little pushover, a little nerd. They
Yeah.
respected that. And we were talking about doing shit. My wife was going to be able to work from home on a laptop. So I'm like, we gotta buy a laptop. We're gonna rent the Airbnb. And then luckily we got the flight home. So none of that had to happen.
Wow. So that's Spicaso on lockdown.
That's Picasso on lockdown, man. That's the third. That's the third in the trilogy.
Have
That's
you
the
thought
third in the
about,
trilogy.
continuing with Spicaso like as a character? Because the third was like, the first one and the second one put together as a deluxe. It was you working with Curse. Album is super dope. It's a beautiful, it just stands out when you're just looking through, people's albums. It just stands out. Picasso on lockdown happens, like that's just like once in a 100 years type of situation, and you're in Machu Picchu at that moment, and you capitalize on it and create, something to always remember it by. Really, right?
Oh yeah.
Like you will always remember that moment in time, in part because of that album. But now Picasso's like touring the world, right? So Picasso is like a almost like a character he's in Peru, he's in Queens. Is
I
Picasso
mean,
going anywhere else?
listen. There's like I always say, man. Nothing's out of the realm of possibility. I could stop rapping this year. This could be the last year I rap. I could rap till I'm 75 years old. It all depends on A, if people want to hear it, and B, if I'm still inspired to write. You know what I mean? Um, and that Picasso one and Picasso dos, they happened. They're both one
Mm-hmm.
project. You know what I mean? The beats were part of one pack, and it was all in the same time. Picasso on lockdown, like you said, happened out of nowhere. Uh, could I get booked in fucking France or the UK and fucking write a Picasso while on tour? Yeah,
Yeah,
that could definitely happen. You know what I mean? That could definitely happen.
yeah,
Um, do I want to get locked down anywhere else? Never again. Ever, nowhere. You know what I'm
wow,
saying? Unless it's in
yeah,
my house with my family and I do it because I don't want to go outside. You know what I'm saying? Besides that, I don't want to go through that situation again. But could there be a situation where I'm doing shows somewhere and that happens? Definitely.
yeah.
Definitely. And I'd be open
That's
to it.
dope. There was another project that seems like it was kind of like in that era, like the quarantine, lockdown, COVID era. Sunset on Sunset.
Yes.
Talk to us about that project.
Sunset on Sunset was produced by the homie Cole James Cash, um, from the West Coast. He had been a long time collaborator. You know what I mean? Long time friend of mine who I think is super talented and not respected enough. You know what I mean? The beats he makes, they're not your regular type of beats, and that's not to disparage any other producer or beat maker at all. But he has a specific ear that
Mm.
I always respected. And much the same way that I started working with Rob Victim and Deep, he had reached out to Lex, the homie Lex from New York Rhyme Exchange, and asked him like, "Look, man, I want to make a compilation. You know any dope MCs?" And he floated my name out there. So Cole reached out to me. I did a track for him, and then he just kept sending me beats, man. He kept sending me beats, and I'm much like respectfully, Eff Yoo took its form in sort of a Latin vibe, if you will.
Yeah,
This took its form in sort of a West Coast vibe. I went
yeah,
out there, you know what I mean? I was out in LA. I got this sort of vibe of how beautiful it is out there. You
yeah,
know what I mean? And I'm like, yo, let's go that route. Let's do a fucking, New York comes to Queens and shit. And I mean Queens comes to
yeah,
LA and let's follow that route. So the album kind of goes in that direction from the first track, flying out there, to being out there. Yeah, I got a song with the homie Skyzoo and Mr. Motherfucking X Squire. I got a song with Lex on there, and that I don't think is respected enough. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it came out and it didn't really get the push that we wanted. A lot of things were going on in Cole's life. A lot of things were going on in my life at the time. You know what I mean? I was moving. I was buying a house. You know, I was trying to have a baby with my wife. My daughter was going to college, and it was just a bunch of shit going on, and it didn't get the right push from both of us, or the reception from the people that I thought it should have.
Yeah.
But if anybody gets a chance, man, it's called Sunset on Sunset.
Yeah, yeah, it's a dope project, and you know, studying your discography lyrically, you spit a little bit like it's a little different energy,
Right.
right? It's really cool. It's cool to hear you. It's cool to hear it like a different, a different way of coming at it that you did.
Yeah,
So it's really cool.
I definitely took the beats and wanted to follow that vibe. You know what I mean? I didn't want to spit my typical way and I try to do that with every project. You know what I mean? I try to make it different. It's still Eff Yoo. It's still me. I'm still talking my shit. I'm still coming up with the fucking biggest words I can use. And at the same time, I want everyone to be different. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
The Spicaso trilogy sounds nothing like Sunset on
right,
Sunset, which sounds
right.
nothing like Respectfully Eff Yoo,
Yeah,
which sounds nothing like Ribs, which is gonna sound nothing like my next album. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah. So we talked about, some of the potential 2024 projects, Ribs 2, right? You've got solo album, you've got the Rob Victim project, right? All of that, is making for potentially an amazing 2024 with a lot of new heat coming. To let people know a little bit more about you, right? To get into like Eff Yoo, like what you're into. Can you talk to us about maybe like you're into boxing and MMA? Who's like some of your all-time favorite boxers?
Wow.
I
Man, you kind of
know
spun
that's
me
a
on
hard
it.
one, right?
It's like, to me, it's like asking, who's your favorite MC?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Who's your favorite artist? To me, it changes all the time.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And yeah, they're the greats. There's the Floyd Pattersons, and there's the Alis and the Tysons. Obviously, I'm more partial to a Mike Tyson because that was like the first boxing that I got into. First memories of watching fights with my father was
Yeah,
watching Mike Tyson, like on Channel 4, I think at the time. It was like on regular TV at 9 o'clock. It wasn't like it is today, pay
yeah,
per view at fucking 1 a.m. Forget about it. It was prime time, 9 p.m. on fucking major network. Um, but I respect fighters like Julian the Hawk Jackson. I mean, I feel like he was a knockout artist. You know what I mean?
mm,
Pepino Cuevas. Um, I really liked Marvin Hagler. I'm a
yeah,
big fan. This might divide some people, but I'm a big fan of Floyd Mayweather because I respect his style.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
A lot of people watch
The
boxing like
sweet science.
exactly. A lot of people watch boxing for the violence, and of course, that's a fun aspect for it. But the way that he used his brain and his body, it's undoubtedly one of the
And how
best.
he changes from the Pretty Boy Floyd era to the Money Team era,
Right, of
right? And so he
course.
was knocking people out. People think that Floyd didn't knock people
Right,
out. He broke his
right.
hands on people.
Yeah,
You hear what I'm
exactly,
saying? He broke his
exactly.
hands
Yeah,
on people, and then he came back and reinvented the style.
right, right. I mean, he was one of the he was one of the at first he wanted to really come out showcasing his power, but then you break your hands so many times on people's chins, you got to start coming up with a
Yeah,
new style, and he
yeah,
did. You know what I mean? And then there's people who can hit hard and have hard hands, hard head, hard chin like a Pacquiao, who could just go into brawls and will never break his hand and will never get, you know what I
yeah,
mean? And it's just two different styles, you know what I mean? Manny Pacquiao's another amazing fighter. Tio
yeah,
Trinidad, another amazing fighter. Yeah, the list goes on and on. You know what I mean? But like I said, it changes. It changes all the time. It changes depending on who I'm watching fight at the moment. You know what I mean? Right now, I like Subriel Matias a lot. You know, he's really nasty. I like Tim Zhu, who unfortunately just lost this weekend, but he's nasty. You know what I mean? So it changes all the time. Just like I said, like who's your favorite rapper? Who's your favorite artist? Like that list it'll change all the time. There'll be your people who are always on that list, but like the order will change all the time, and people will be added and taken away all the time.
That's dope, man. As a collector, anybody who spends any time on your Instagram, they'll see that you're into comic books, that you have a long, established passion for comic books. What are some of your favorite, comic book characters, books that you got that are cherished, like some collector's items, and maybe one or two that you don't have that you want to get your hands on?
I mean, but, this might sound like a generic answer, but I guess because of my age and the era I came up with, one of my favorite characters is Wolverine. So, I got the Wolverine #1. I was able to get it
I saw that
signed.
one, man. It's one of those I've had envy, like good envy. I saw that, I was like, oh, that's good.
Listen,
That's
man,
good.
I want to make sure that I get my favorite artists to sign my favorite books. I have a Stan Lee signature on a Spider-Man book. I got Frank Miller to sign Wolverine 1. So, that was lucky. This summer, I'm going to see Jim Lee. I'm going to have him sign X-Men 1. You know
Wow.
what I mean? So I got all those books. I mean, I have Todd McFarlane sign my Spider-Man #1.
Wow.
Um, and I cherish those books. I have I was looking around. I got the first Harley Quinn. I got the Batman Who Laughs, Secret Wars. The first Black cover, the first appearance of Venom. One that I'd like to get my hands on is Hulk 181 and 180, which is the first appearance
A
of
first appearance of
Wolverine.
Wolverine.
Bro, I gotta tell you, man, when I first started getting comics, I think that was like $100 book, $150 book. And at the time, obviously I'm a kid. Even then, even when I was into stealing shit, that book was behind the counter. It was hard to get your
Yeah.
hands on. But if I was able to come up with $150, I was spending it on other shit.
Yeah.
Now, you know what I mean? It's five, six, $7,000. And I find it difficult to part with that when, I have two daughters. You know what I mean? I got a
Yeah. Yeah.
wife.
You
I
had
got
to
I
get
got
it
mortgage.
beforehand. You
You,
had to get
you
it
know what I'm
beforehand.
saying?
Yeah.
I feel like I'll get my hands on it at some point. Um, just moving around in the circles I move around in.
Yeah.
I feel like I'll get my hands on it at some point. If anybody wants to donate it to me
Hey,
out there,
you can exchange a verse.
yo, we can work
A
something
verse for a
out. We
181.
we can work something out. I'm sure we can work something out. My verses are priceless, so what's five,
Ex-
6, 7,000?
exactly. Exactly. And then as we wrap up, as a cigar smoker, right?
Yeah.
Favorite cigars.
Oh man, I'm partial to Davidoff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, that's like my favorite. I'd say that's my favorite cigar brand that I can get here in the United States. I've been to Cuba. I've been to
Yeah.
the factories. I have a box of different assorted Cubans. By far, those are the best cigars, and I don't
Wow.
say that because that's what people say.
Right.
I say it because I'll smoke that. Another brand I like is Drew Estate. Drew Estate makes a lot of different cigars, but they're always on point. All their cigars are on point. Um,
Yeah.
and I've smoked high end cigars, and then when you smoke a Cuban cigar,
Yeah.
from a lot of them are from the same factory. This a lot of people might not know, like Cohiba and Romeo and Juliet. Like they're one factory. You know what I'm saying? They're all made in the same
Got
factory, but it's a different taste, man. It's different. It's different, and that's how people get to know, like, oh, this is a fake Cuban
right.
because this doesn't taste the way a
Right. You
real
could tell
Cuban.
a Cuban.
You can tell. You can 100% tell. So I'm trying to make a trip back there, not only
Yeah.
because when I went to Havana. Havana's a city, it's a port,
Yeah.
but they have beautiful beaches. So I want to take advantage of the beach side, but I want to get my hands on some more Cubans,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. I had the fortune of going to Santiago de Cuba, so on the other side of the island.
Okay.
And you know, it's crazy when you're there, the culture, man. The rum comes out, the cigars are blazing in the airport, everywhere you go.
Yeah, man.
You know, like life's a big party out there. It's a good time.
It's totally different out there. One thing that obviously the food is delicious. The fruit is the dirt, right? The earth. It makes everything taste different.
Mm,
You know what I mean? It's an island, obviously, so you can't get that dirt anywhere else.
mm,
Even if you transport it, it loses something in
yeah,
transport. You know what I mean? So that's why they're able to grow these tobacco leaves that taste so good, and the fruit is so fresh, and the food is delicious, and the people there for the most part are happy, with their lives. A lot of people say, with communism and all that stuff, shit was taken away. And yeah, you talk to people out there,
yeah,
um, who will tell you some horror stories. You know what I mean? But the island's beautiful.
yeah,
One thing that shocked me is the women out there are so beautiful,
right.
but they are so demure. Like they don't. I went there with my wife. She was my girlfriend at the time, and we would notice all these very pretty girls, and they didn't know. They didn't think they were beautiful or pretty. You know what
Wow.
I mean? It was just like I don't know if they had been programmed that way, to be so kind of demure, maybe insecure. I don't
Yeah,
want to speak for them, but it was just a totally different feeling out there, totally different vibe out there. So I definitely want to go back.
that's dope, man. That's dope. Man, I've had the honor of chopping it up with Eff Yoo. We
Thank
talked
you, brother.
about potentially Ribs 2 with Spit Gemz dropping in 2024. New project with Rob Victim potentially dropping in 2024. New solo project with working title that is 14 Karat Computer.
The album's called 14 Karat Gold Slum Computer Wizard.
Yeah,
It's it's a line from Ghostface Killer.
that's dope.
From I want to say it's from the Purple Tape. I want to say it's
Wow.
from the Purple Tape. I want to say it's from the song with him, Ray, and Nas, which the title escapes me right now.
Yeah, yeah, I know exactly what song you're talking about because that's such a one of the best hip hop songs of all time. I'm
Right,
gonna go
but in
listen
there,
to it after this.
Ghostface, he says, "You 14 karat gold slum computer wizard," and I always thought that's such an ill phrase, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean anything. Ghostface himself, he said like, "Yo, shit don't mean nothing. It means something to the artist." You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So that's the name of the solo album, that hopefully will be dropping soon,
that's dope.
and then Ribs 2 hopefully dropping soon. Um, uh, the album with Rob Victim, Unappreciated Luxury, dropping soon. My brother Spit Gemz got probably 3, 4 albums dropping this year. My brother A1's got 3 joints like tucked, ready to go, dropping this year. So it's gonna be a busy, busy, busy year, man. Hopefully you guys are looking out for us.
That's dope, man. Thank you so much for the time, my brother. What an amazing discography, and you're gonna add to all those numbers this year. Truly, man. Hope to have you back sometime soon.
Thank you, man. Thank you. It was an honor.
Salute.
Peace out.